home? Nobody in the lobby, okay.
Yes, nobody's in the lobby.
All right.
You can now see.
All right, then we need to approve the April 7th meeting minutes.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
I'll support.
Okay.
Dan can support.
Commissioners Long and Saraki, all in favor, please say
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Please say aye, yes. Okay, thank you. All right, and we have a couple of information items. We have a scorecard update. Trish? I know you're there.
She's here.
We caught everybody off guard.
Okay, she doesn't
Is she
hear.
not there?
Trish, can you hear us?
Trish? Are you there?
Yeah, hi, hello, I'm here.
Hi. We just can't see you for some
Okay,
reason.
we're doing a scoreboard update.
There you are, there you are. Yay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Does she have to share her own screen?
I don't know, like, I think she's,
Oh,
she had the script to share.
okay.
All right, so I'll share my screen with our second quarter scorecard results. Here we are. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
We have a
Well,
paper
sort of.
copy.
We have a copy at our places, but,
Can we see that?
All right, Brad, do you prefer that I share or not share it? I know it's probably easier to see at your places.
Yeah, we can't see it anyway.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
so who's
Uh,
presenting?
Okay.
Yes, so this is our second quarter report for our performance count scorecard. And I like to start just with a quick navigation through the form. I know there's quite a lot to look at on here. You'll see that the 5 key strategic areas that are represented on the back wall of the boardroom are along the left-hand side of the report. We have community support, financial stability, customer service, employee engagement, and commitment to performance. Each of those key strategic areas is measured with a number of specific metrics that demonstrate our performance in that area. And next to each metric, you will see the performance goal. That's the target that we are working to achieve, the number of points that that goal is worth if we fully achieve it. And then we have our Q1 and Q2 scores in the color-coded columns. The color coding corresponds to a legend that's up kind of in the top right corner of the page, where green means we are meeting or exceeding the goal. Yellow means that we're within 10% of the goal. So what would in school be considered an A is actually yellow for us because it calls our attention to the fact that we are not quite where we want to be. And then anything that is more than 10% away from the goal is color-coded in red. All of those points are totaled up at the bottom. And in the lower right-hand corner, we have our overall score here at the middle of the year, which is 98 points out of 100. As you can see, virtually all of our goals are on target at this point in the middle of the year. I will just call attention to the couple that stand out. We have Org 9, which is the 9th one down the list, our fixed route net promoter score. That is based on a customer satisfaction survey that's being conducted by our American Bus Benchmarking Group. We are targeting a score of 30 on that survey. The results that you see for the first 2 quarters are actually carried over from last year's survey. They're the most current data that we have. And this year's survey is currently in development. So I expect that in Q3, we will have this year's score to be able to compare to our target of 30. The other one that I'll call attention to, which is Org 17, that's down towards the bottom of the list. That is also based on our peer group with the American Bus Benchmarking Group. Every year, we take a look at the metrics where we are below the median compared to our peers in that group. And we set a goal to improve at least half of those metrics where we are below the median. Now, I'm happy to say that this year, we have fewer goals below the median than we have in past years. We only have 5 goals below median. Even as recently as last year, we had 8. So we are improving and sustaining improvement in the metrics that we measure against our peers. This year, we are aiming to improve at least 3 of those metrics year over year, and we are doing so with improved vehicle collision rates and on-time performance have both improved. So to meet our goal, we are continuing to try to improve one of the other 3 metrics that are in that group, which are driver training hours, passenger trips per revenue mile, or CO2 emissions, carbon emissions. So those are the 2 that stand out through our color coding. And again, the yellow and red are important for us to note where we need to make sure that we're paying attention and devoting our resources and problem-solving abilities. But overall, we are doing very well with our community sentiment, community support, financial stability, customer service, employee engagement, and commitment to performance metrics, which also I'll note include our Sunrunner project progress, which is on track.
Okay. Do we have any questions about any of this? I'm
Great
wondering-
job.
Excuse me?
Great job.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
I know. We're doing maybe too well.
Can we, somewhere it would be good to know when we're looking at this, what the metrics are that we're working on. I mean, you just mentioned a couple. And you said we're working on 3 this year?
Yes,
The benchmark? And-
yes, ma'am. We'll make sure to include that detail.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
All right,
Great.
Brad, May
Okay.
board agenda.
So as I was mentioning before the meeting, the plan is to have at least one more meeting, the May 26th PFA board meeting, to be in this room set up like this, distanced. With Zoom capabilities for some board members if they need to, and staff too. But then in June, going back to more of a more full person, or at least everybody here, including staff, giving the presentations in person.
In June, you said?
Yeah, at the June meeting, at least, and then maybe even for the June committees too. For us on the finance committee, you can see Al Burns in person with his motivated speaking. But you can see on the agenda, we'll have a number of items, a number of contracts coming before the finance committee this month for recommendation, and then going on probably the consent agenda, including a favorite of mine, sludge removal. That's always a great one. And then one thing that we had not originally intended, but you see trolley barriers on there. When we purchased the safety barriers, the safety shields for the bus operators, you'll recall back in 2018 after the unfortunate death of a Hart bus operator, murder of a Hart bus operator, we did not at that time purchase barriers, shields for the trolleys, because we really don't have incidents along the beach. It's tourists ride those. And then the Jolly Trolleys had to get a special, they're a little bit set up differently, so they have a special thing. But we're gonna go ahead and buy those. The Shields have been very, the drivers like them. They're not really very intrusive or problematic for customer service or anything like that, so they seem like they're going great. They make the drivers feel better with COVID. That's like an ancillary benefit. And so we're gonna go ahead and get them for the trolleys too. The big item on the agenda for this month is the paratransit software, which thank you, Vu, for handling the Zoom today, because Julie, our IT director, is not here. She's at the selection meeting that is being held right now on the paratransit software. This is a very important sort of backbone piece of it for our whole redesign of our access mobility efforts, to bring in all these companies. There'll be one phone number that customers will call, and then they'll be given this menu of options, and that software, in theory, will be able to hail Ubers, Lyfts, paratransit vehicles, if they need a paratransit vehicle, or like a van or whatever, all together. So it's a very important piece of the equipment. So I'm glad for the people that are working on that. And then the informational item is sort of, I think, interesting. A number of board members have asked or heard about other cities and sort of a wave in the transportation world of doing away with transit fares, going free all the time. We are free right now due to the pandemic because people are all getting on the back door. But Kansas City announced just before the pandemic that they were going to go fare free. And that was the largest city that had ever done that. There are some university towns I know of, and smaller systems like Vero Beach, Florida, small transit system is free. And there are free systems, but when Kansas City announced that was a much bigger system. And then Los Angeles was talking about also going free on transit, with the concept being that transit is a service, just like the libraries or something like that, and they are part of if you view them as public transportation as part of the community's mobility and traffic relief and other purposes for public transit than making money, which is never going to do, then maybe fares are not part of that equation. So Cassandra and her team have studied Los Angeles and Kansas City and all those others, and then our own programs, and are coming up with a recommendation that kind of takes advantage of something we've had for a very long time. Our transportation disadvantage bus pass gives low-income folks who really need the service a massive discount on our fares. They can ride all the transit everywhere in the county for $11 a month, but that is limited to a population base that is smaller than maybe it needs to be. And the county, with its affordable housing initiatives, I know, Cassandra knows a lot more than I do, has sort of raised the bar on that and made more people accessible to affordable housing. And so maybe we'll follow their lead and make more people accessible to discounted transit passes in the future. That plus converting to Flamingo fares, where you always get the best discount you can possibly get automatically. You don't have to worry about buying a monthly pass or a weekly pass or a day pass or whatever. It just, now that you'll have your Flamingo either app on your phone or a card, and all of our customers will, it will give you the best price. And if you keep riding, the more you ride, the less you pay. So if you, I think, ride 16 times in the month, then the rest of it is free. Or it's not costing you anything. The Flamingo fares will also sort of provide an equity incentive for our customer base also. But you'll see all that from our planning folks. It's an interesting concept discussion with me. You know, we have lots of programs where we work with companies and the universities and anybody to sell bus passes, and their customers don't pay, but they pay. You know, all the St. Pete College students, they're all riding for free. We have a proposal that Commissioner Long and I were working on with Pinellas County Schools, where the school students and faculty were going to be able to ride with their Pinellas County School ID, high school students. And so hopefully we'll get that going again. It's the whole concept of fares, and you know, what if they're really serving a purpose, serving the public purpose that they were maybe started out as, or maybe things have changed, is an interesting one. And especially for us coming out of the pandemic, where we've had this sort of year experience where we have not been charging fares. And what have we learned from that, other than it was a crazy sort of year with us trying not to encourage people to ride the bus so they didn't get sick or get too close distance. So look
So I
forward
think-
to seeing that. I think that'll be good.
I think we need to be careful about tying it all to the Flamingo card, because I think you have to have a credit card to back that up. So that's something to think about for low-income people.
Oh,
Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in listening to your comments, Brad, I think there's a misconnect or disconnect in language when you reference free. These systems have free ridership. First of all, nothing is free if it has value. Number two, someone is paying for the service. Number three, if those of us who have made public transportation a big initiative to work on from a public policy perspective, I think it would be really critical that before we march down this path of expanding the conversation about free transit service, that we more speak about, are we as elected bodies really committed to public transportation options for our citizens? And if the answer to that is yes, and I hope it would be, because in Tampa Bay, we're 50 years behind the times in terms of moving the dial, but for the first time in a long time, we are moving the dial, and we are seeing a greater interest from our communities in public transportation. And so if your intent is to come back to us with a deep dive presentation and how we elevate our public transportation conversation with our elected bodies to encourage new thinking with how our budgets are formulated, then I would, anticipate and expect that they would be able to back that up with some serious examples of how other communities, cities, counties across our country have put these systems in place and are so successful with them, and it's hop on, hop off ridership, pretty much.
Right,
So
yeah.
let's rethink how we want to talk about that and how we want to elevate the conversation with our commissions, our city councils, our internal agencies, us, T-BARTA, the whole ball of wax, to think about, are there better ways to implement a public transportation system? We know, for those of us who have traveled nationally or internationally, that countries, third world countries, for goodness sake, have incredibly robust public transportation systems. Surely, we can figure that out in the United States. I've quoted this often. I don't know if I can find it quickly, considering I'm in the moment, but Jane Williams had an extraordinary little snippet that she spoke about at one of the APTA conferences, wherein she spoke about, in a matter of days, well, it was a few months, but in a matter of a few months, the Chinese or the Saudis were able to build enormous transportation infrastructures. I'm going to find it while the rest of you chit-chat, and then I'll ask for
Okay.
recognition again to see if I can bring it up on my notepad. But I never forgot that, because I thought, holy smoke, there are examples all around the country of how this has been done. Why on earth do we keep trying to reinvent the wheel? Okay, I'm done on my soapbox, but you get my drift. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
It's well said. It's well said about I mean, this discussion is really about a public policy and the way we talk about it. Probably, you're right on. It's not good to talk about it in terms of being free, because somebody is paying. But
Okay, I found it. Can I just say it while I
Sure.
found it? China built a section of railroad in 9 hours using 1,500 people. Think about that.
Great, it's a communist country.
What? Okay, it's a communist
Just
country,
saying.
Maybe
We have
they-
unions and
but
things
you
like
get
that.
my point. It can be done.
Yes.
And to your concern about the Flamingo, of course, you can pay with a debit card, and you can pay with cash in 2 different ways. You can go to any of the transit centers and load up your card with cash. And we will be selling Flamingo cards at CVS's and places where you see those big racks of Olive Garden
So you can just load it.
cards, and there'll be Flamingo cards on those racks. And then you'll just pay, you can pay cash at the store, and then you get the card. So there will be ways to use cash, lots of ways, and you can still use cash on the bus. The mag stripes system that we have is gonna go away. That's gonna be replaced with Flamingo. Or if you get a bus pass and you swipe it,
Really?
then everybody will just have Flamingos. And so all of the first people that are gonna get Flamingo are all the transportation disadvantaged customers that are paying $11. They'll be handed a Flamingo card in June, to use instead of a paper mag stripe card.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
so I
pretty
think the conversation that you were talking about transportation not being free, but I think to frame it as transportation is part of infrastructure, and we take care of all the rest of that infrastructure, and we don't expect people to pay other than through their taxes. And so I think that's, you said a couple of things that were, a smart way to get at, why do we charge people fares when we don't charge them most of the time to drive down a road?
Yeah.
Unless it's an exclusive service, a toll
Unless it's
road
like
of
a
some
toll
sort.
road, yeah.
So, I'd like to go in that direction,
Yeah, me too.
but Yeah, I think a whole reframing of the system is, I think it's important for us to keep making the point that the transit system is part of our transportation system. It's not separate, it's part of how we control traffic and how we, you know.
Right, it's what our,
So
what our.
it's not as much a service as an integral part of our infrastructure. You know, so if you think of it as a service, you're gonna pay for it, but if you think of it as part of how we do the whole thing with transportation, it makes more sense. And we get more integrated. I mean, I think as a bus rider, transit has to be part of every discussion on transportation. You know, because you can't just have people with money able to get around the county.
Right,
We have to,
Right.
we have to allow everybody to get around.
So,
And I think that's
That was
part of
good.
what, I think that's part of the point we missed with green light, is that this benefits you, the transit system benefits you because, you know, you're not behind the 20 cars that would be on the road if it wasn't for the bus,
yeah.
et cetera, but anyway.
Well-
Very well said.
yes, I wanted to remind everybody that as it relates to PSTA, we do have taxing authority. That said, it's not fair and equitable
Right.
taxing authority.
Right.
And that makes it very problematic because, you know, to get from point A to point B, you've got to go through some of those communities that are not contributing to our system. And there are folks that have been on this board and probably are still on this board. I know I have a problem with that. It's an issue. So these are all things I think we have to work on going forward. It's great fodder for a strategic planning session, an updated strategic planning session, which, by the way, now that I ushered those words, we have not done since we formulated that thing right there.
Well, we are working on replacing these fine triangles on your places with our new strategic initiative, which is our sustainability strategic plan.
Well, but that should be meshed into the overall strategy of the entire agency, not a standalone.
Yes, but it has its own, it's sort of comprehensive in nature so that it can replace the path forward plan that you see there. That's the idea. But,
Anybody else?
good discussion.
Comments?
Well, I hope before it's finalized, we have an opportunity to discuss it at the board level. Brad,
I think that would be a good idea. Yeah.
thank you, I do too.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Anything else on that agenda that? I don't think so, right?
For those of you that sit on Ford Pinellas, which you'll be hearing about these same issues because I am on the agenda to give a PSTA update at the next Ford Pinellas meeting.
Oh, good, then I don't need to do one.
Oh, good, I get to say this all over again. And I will,
I was just
And so will I.
I bet. We'll
Transit-
double team it.
Transit is a big part of transportation.
yeah.
All right, I don't see anything else on the agenda unless somebody has something they want to discuss.
Madam Chair, I have just one thing I want to share with the board.
Please.
The Chamber of Commerce of the City of Oldsmar had our Oldsmar Days Parade, and we also had a concert Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. They changed the venue, I just wanted to share this with you, they changed the venue where they had tables set up for social distancing, and I just wanted to share that it was a success. It was just really a success for the City of Oldsmar to actually kick off something after this pandemic we've had.
Yeah.
It was actually a very good community event that brought people together, and I just wanted to share that, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
All right. Nothing else? We are adjourned.
Well, good meeting, Madam Chair.
Yes, great meeting.
It's only a good meeting because it's short, right? That's why you guys are saying that.
Yeah. Thank you. Good.
I believe in short meetings. Good.
Thank you, Lou.
Good to be efficient.
Thank you, Boo.
I got your,
Thank you, Clarissa.
was it a phone call? No. It was an email.